Hi, Michael here. In this video, I want to talk about what do software engineers really do? Now you may think it is just about writing code, but I would say at least 30 to 50% of a software engineer's time is spent on other tasks. Now, of course, this is dependent on the role and the organization. Looking back on my 20 plus years of experience as a software engineer, I would identify 5 key things that software engineers do. So let's take a look at them. One of the main things that software engineers do before they write code is to understand what it needs to do. In a bigger organization, you might get a nice written specification, nicely documented of what it should do. However, in my experience, this is seldom enough. Sometimes there's somebody called a business analyst who can help you find the answers. But sometimes, as a software engineer, you need to get them yourself by speaking with end users or with other types of stakeholders. The second thing you will most likely spend a lot of time doing is trying to understand other engineers' code, or code you did not write. Why? Because a lot of the time you won't be working on a new project. You'll be modifying something that is already there. But you can't change it till you understand it. Otherwise, you'll probably break it. The other reason you might be looking at other people's code is doing code reviews of your colleagues. So you will need to understand their code. Or you might be bug fixing. And again, you will need to read and understand the code. And this probably takes quite a lot of your time. The next thing you'll probably do every day as a software engineer is talk to people. I don't believe the image of a software engineer hidden away in a basement is really based on any truth. Although I did work in a basement once and the lack of natural light was a bit of a downer. Jokes aside, who will you talk to as a software engineer? Well, if your company is following the agile software development methodology, which most are these days, you will have a stand-up meeting at the start of the day with your colleagues where everyone will report their progress and discuss anything that's stopping them from working on their project. Then, as I've already said, you may need to communicate with business analysts or end users to find out more about how your code is supposed to work. This would be called requirements elaboration. If you're doing bug fixing, then you may need to communicate with software testers, also called QA testers. Finally, you may need to communicate with infrastructure engineers, what we used to call administrators, about how and where your code will run. If this sounds like a lot of talking, well, it may just be that the roles that I have chosen in my career have had a lot of communication, and others may have less so. But in my opinion, this is a key skill for any software engineer, the ability to communicate. The next thing as a software engineer you will do, perhaps unsurprisingly, is design and write new code. The more senior you are, typically the higher the level of design. This may include how systems are put together, what the database tables are, what the definitions of any APIs are. It all varies depending on the size of application you are working on and the organization. In my experience, software architects may do much of this, but at some level, as a software engineer, you will contribute to the design. It might be just to review the design, or alternatively, something might come up when you're coding, which means the design may need to change and you will contribute to it in that way. Finally, you get to write the code. But hold on, if you're practicing something like test-driven development, you may write code to first test your application code. These would be called unit tests before actually writing the code. As a software engineer, you'll spend a lot of time learning. Some of this might well be in your own time. Technology is a fast-moving field. There are releases of major languages coming out every year, and you will have to update your knowledge. But also, you'll have to learn how the product you're working on works. For instance, I work at a software company with a product that has been going for 20 years, and there's a lot of code to understand and be familiar with. So you will also have to learn about the business field you're in. There are also skills which maybe aren't core, but are still important, like how to deploy your code in the cloud, which you need to be aware of. All of these skills are ones you'll have to learn and develop. All of this is great, but be aware as a software engineer, if you want to progress and keep up with this fast-moving field, you will need to spend a lot of time learning, and some of it may be in your own personal time. Well, I hope I've given you a useful insight into what software engineers really do. If you're interested in becoming a software engineer, please check out my earlier videos, and see you on the next video.